In 2010, cursive handwriting was dropped from the Common Core standards for grades K through 12 in the United States. With a packed curriculum and a student body that's striving to have the skills to compete with AI and the very competitive job market in the coming decades, is it that important to learn how to read and write interconnected letters? Or is it still important? The decision was made to teach keyboard proficiency and other subjects in the place of cursive writing. So does this mean that cursive writing is truly dead? Even as this was happening, studies were being released that showed that writing in cursive helped to enshrine what you were learning deep into your brain, because it fired up different parts of your brain at the same time. The ones for artistry, for expression, for communication skills. So that which you were writing was almost as if it were being written into your memory and your imagination. However, is this exclusive to cursive writing or just writing in general? I can say I've never seen a study that says that writing in cursive is bad for you. So this may be true that cursive is waning, that the sun is setting on this very distinctive and beautiful writing style, and this is especially sad for someone like me who just loves the style of writing, who searches historical documents for new styles of expression, for new ways to form a line. Sure, I'm a romantic. I love the idea of making beautiful words on a page, but is this a necessary skill for the coming decades? Sure, for me this is very sad. It's as if my world is dissolving into a white void with a blinking cursor. So does foregoing learning cursive put the modern student at a disadvantage if they're not getting the benefit of writing by hand and it's not being enshrined into their brain? Is this true for someone like my daughter, who is 7 years old, but then she can write her name in cursive because of course she can. She's my daughter. But beyond signing her name, is there any real benefit for her to learn cursive? For one thing, the ability to read original sources is growing more important in a world saturated with misinformation and disinformation. The founding documents of the United States are written in cursive, as are many other documents around the world. If you cannot read them, then you have to filter your understanding of them through someone else. Or your own family history. No one will collect the emails that will survive in some dark corner of the internet when we have slipped into the void. No one will be able to gain access to them. But your grandmother's apple pie recipe is probably written on an index card in lovely mid-century cursive. Now, it may or may not be true that writing in cursive helps with retaining knowledge by embedding it deeper into our brain, but it certainly helps to understand what we're writing more, and it engages many aspects of our fine motor skills, our aesthetic sensibilities, and our appreciation for beauty, not to mention self-discipline as we learn a new skill and have to calm our minds while we do so. Cursive also allows you to think differently, to fully realize that sound and meaning are conveyed in many different ways, and not the least of which are the print and script that they are communicated through. That mental dexterity expands a person's perspective immensely. One of the best reasons for learning cursive is because it is difficult. You get a tremendous sense of accomplishment once you're able to write. It's a lovely midway point between print and calligraphy. When you're able to do it with proficiency, there is a tremendous sense of accomplishment and satisfaction. So let's run through a brief history of cursive. The Declaration of Independence of the United States was written in round hand. Ironically, this is an English style, designed for writing with a quill and dependent on a consistent stroke and a consistent form. Spencerian writing came into use in the mid-19th century, allowing for more individualized embellishments and personalization, while still founded on a formalized writing style, but with plenty of variation. The Palmer method arose as the 20th century blossomed, and this was the handwriting of business and commerce. Although still beautiful, it was designed for quick writing. It's smaller, more disciplined, agile, and just suits any situation. This is the style of writing that I learned as a little kid sitting in a school classroom in the 1970s. In those days, my desk still had the space for an inkwell, and the entire desk was just stained with blue and black ink. It was pretty amazing. Although we weren't using those kinds of pens in those days, we were using Bic pens, the remnants of that whole method of learning were still very evident. Maybe that's why I refuse to replace my ink-stained desk that I use right now. Cursive writing met its first real challenge right around the 1930s when the use of typewriters became more common, more widespread, and pretty much everyone owned one. But of course, typewriters had their limitations. Although they could be made quite small, most of them were still very, very heavy, and carrying them into a class and clicking away was certainly not ideal from a sound point of view, although I love the sound of a clacking typewriter. It just does something to me. The threat became even more dire to cursive writing in the 1980s and 1990s as personal computers propagated and they became smaller and smaller to the point where we're carrying a lot of computing power in our phones. The appeal of expressing yourself through the phone is just so easy because you can just simply dictate into it. And the voice recognition software is so good now, it's almost 100% accurate. So that even helps people that can't write. So the advantages of writing through a phone are just so seductive. But through all this and all this progression, the one place where cursive writing has really held on is with signatures. Nearly everyone uses cursive when they sign their name. Of course, the problem is that most people under a certain age have maybe never signed their name, or when they did, they were doing it through DocuSign, through Adobe digital signatures, or through the blockchain. I mean, there's all these different new ways of signing and certifying your signature. So does that mean that signing your name is also destined to go away? Possibly. It is certainly not necessary to enjoy fountain pens by writing in cursive. You could simply print or draw, although penmanship is certainly one of the more popular ways that people do enjoy their pens and writing. Disciplined or stylistic writing is held in very high esteem and is a beautiful thing to share with someone in a note or a letter. But not everyone has the dexterity or artistry for that sort of script. But the beautiful thing about cursive is that it's open to a variety of writing styles, even to those of us whose cursive looks more like the readout of an EKG machine. Another beautiful aspect of cursive is that it is unique to everyone, like a fingerprint. Once you have developed your own style and have internalized it, no one else's will look quite like it. It's an amazing way to express your individuality. The irony is that much of the handwriting we hold in the highest regard, calligraphy in all of its forms, has its established letter forms, and it seeks to establish its own aesthetic. And so the myth of handwriting is that the more beautiful it gets, often the more similar it gets as well. So allow me to praise the outliers, those who write with panache, with passion, with plunging descenders and erratic ascenders, with crazy looping lines that connect in interesting and original ways. Allow me to praise those that are so inspired every time their nib touches the paper. Here's to you. If you already know cursive but you rarely use it, perhaps you prefer to print. I hope that this video will inspire you to pick up your pen and try cursive writing again. Consider expressing yourself in this near magical loopy method of writing so that your ideas leave a distinctive and individual mark on the paper. But is cursive on life support? Is cursive dead? Currently, 21 school districts still teach some form of cursive, and this is on the rise. There are free lessons on cursive here on YouTube. Even the venerated Mont Blanc has its own cursive and calligraphy writing classes. So the demise of cursive may have been overstated, and we all know one way to ensure that something will carry on. Try to wipe it out. So there will always be rebels, individualists, hobbyists, those that pick it up, that propagate it, that sing its praises. Here's to all of you that are writing in cursive, that are inspired, that are picking up your pens every day. People like us, cursive will survive. So maybe cursive writing is an outdated writing form, but look what we've done with it. We've adapted this incredible way of expressing ourselves, and we've made this incredible community of engaged, interesting, kind, supportive, generous people to rally around this wonderful hobby of ours. So, in the immortal words of Robert Frost, that has made all the difference. So what do you think? Is cursive writing going away? Is it doomed? What's your opinion? Let me know in the comments. Should we teach it in our schools? I'd love to hear from you. And if you've reached this point in the video, please do me a favor and subscribe. I'd love to have you along on this journey with us. And if you want to support the channel even more, consider membership. We have a lot of fun behind the scenes. We have a pen pal group for Cognoscenti and Illuminati members. I'd love to have you there with us. So I make new videos all the time, and I have a live show each Tuesday night at 8 p.m. So I can promise you, we will see each other again very soon, further up the road. So keep writing and take care of yourself. So maybe we are, oh wait, the thing's still going, right?